Okay, welcome everyone again to another episode of the Nuh Dry Talk podcast. Today I have a very interesting episode. Even I think it fits very well into the current times and can help us even better after the time. And to help me discuss this topic of financial awareness is my good friend Chevon Corbin, who's also the one that's possibly responsible for getting me into this topic. I'll just go ahead and let him introduce himself. So Chevon, over to you.
Good night, Nathan.
Yes.
I hope all is well. Thanks for inviting me to your podcast. I believe that the topic of financial awareness is so crucial, especially at a young age where you now have to start to plan and decide how you're going to align your future. So I'm really looking forward to the discussion. I do expect it's going to be pretty fruitful.
So, as you said, financial awareness and being young. Let's just talk, because I wasn't very much aware, not to be a play on words, of the topic of financial awareness and financial literacy. And as someone who got me into it, could you explain to our listeners and possibly to me some more, what is this concept, financial finance?
Right, so when I think of financial literacy, I think of being able to understand and then apply financial skills. And when I talk about financial skills, I mean things such as managing your own personal finances, which may be budgeting. I'm thinking of savings. I'm thinking of investment. I'm thinking of, what is your future plan? Is it, let's say, life insurance or pensions, right? When you talk about financial literacy overall, it's just being able to understand these financial skills.
So you're talking about moving past, I guess, what most people see as earning money and spending money. Because I think most people just believe you go to work, you earn money, you spend it, you die. And a lot of people don't plan for some of the things that I don't think many people who have a budget, or their budget is very loose. Like they say, I made a budget, but they don't know. They say I can spend this amount of money and that's it. Like, let me know if this amount of money should be in savings. Some people don't have savings. Some people believe, I know for a fact, my partner believes savings is dip money. Like, don't believe in saving for the long term or can't get it due, because when you want something, savings there, so you can dip in and touch a little bit of that there. So I think there's a discipline that goes into financial literacy. And I was doing some research and I saw this definition of financial literacy, and I think it plays well on what you said, is the possession of a set of skills and knowledge that allows an individual to make informed and effective decisions with all of their financial resources. So it's specific to the individual and how much you earn or where you want to go to. But I think a lot of people view they can't do a budget because they don't work for a certain amount of money. I've come across that mindset before.
Yeah, I think one of the problems is that many people believe that only select people can really manage finances. So people expect that only the wealthy are those who are managing their finances. Then, in truth and fact, financial literacy our financial awareness comes down to every single individual, and you have to know then how you are going to manage your finances based on what your expenditures is going to be.
True, because I mean, if it can't just be the wealthy that has to manage your finances, because not only the wealthy earn money, so then it becomes the point of, well, maybe they need to in their mind that mindset of, I too can get through and balance my book or whatever.
I also believe too that it might just be how persons are raised. There are some persons who, just based on the family that they're in, or the environment that they're within, the friends that they associate with, they may just be accustomed to seeing persons, this is in my mind that I have, I want to go to this, and I spend money on these things without really understanding, oh my goodness, I have this to deal with, bills to deal with, debt to deal with, And so I think financial awareness has to come a marriage. I mean, we started a conversation about it of having a budget. How are you getting control of yourself? I think budgeting has a lot to deal with having that personal self-discipline. You recognizing that there are needs, and then recognizing that there are also wants,
True.
you know? And
So
once you determine the difference between the two, then you can start to have a conversation of, oh, this is how I should be setting aside.
So for our listeners who probably ain't know much about budgeting or just starting out in their budgeting, let's get some more in depth into budget. Budgeting, to my understanding, is simply the managing of your income and your expenses. So you find a way that you don't ever put yourself where you're spending more than you earn. The basis of budgeting is to stop the bleeding of getting into debt or excess spending. So that's the basic budgeting. And I came across this rule. I don't know how true this rule is or how effective this rule would be for certain people, but the 50-30-20 rule, 50 for necessities, 30 for wants, and 20 for savings or debt. What are your views on that breakdown? Because 50%, can 50% of your income meet your necessities?
Okay. I have kind of a similar breakdown in mind. When we talk about budgeting, and even if I was to share mine, it kind of aligns similar to the same thing that people are saying, where I believe in you should do 10% to your savings. And when I speak of savings, I also thinking of emergencies. You know, what are emergencies? Emergency might be the vehicle that you're driving, the battery goes dead. You didn't plan for that, right? Emergency might be health. You don't plan for that, right? And then I also think 10% will go to some kind of investment. It might be life insurance. It might be a pension. It might be businesses. You're investing in businesses, you know. And that then will come into that 20% that you shared, right, for the savings. But then I believe that your other remaining percent should cover your other expenses. If you want to break it down into 50 and 30, if you want to break it down that way, by all means.
Another key thing that I think is essential whenever you're making these breakdowns, I think you should understand a couple of things. What is considered a fixed expense and what is considered a variable. A fixed expense is what you need to. You need the house, you need the water, you need the light, those necessities of life that you can't go. You need groceries, those things there. And then the variable is what you do for your lifestyle. Like say, a lot of people like to go and dine. Some people like to party and vibes. Some like to drink a lot of alcohol to your lifestyle. And when you alter in a budget, because I did a mock-up budget for a friend of mine, when you alter, you go for those variable expenses first. Those are the ones you try to monitor severely. Like if you cut back on your variable. Don't cut back on food, groceries, and leave your alcohol spending through the roof. I don't. To me, it's the money management that we can come into skills.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. But one of the things that I would add is that your fixed income or a person's fixed expenses rather varies from person to person. So my electricity bill varies to yours, right? And then each of those fixed expenses are, let me say some of those fixed expenses, you actually have the ability to control them. So you can control how much your light bill is going to be based on your usage patterns. You can control how much your water bill is going to be to an extent based on your patterns, right? And the same way, you can start to control what your wants are going to be. So let's say, for instance, you might decide this month is my girlfriend's birthday. And as a result, I know I'm going to set aside this amount of money to go out with her. But that might deal with the one date. But then you have 3 other weeks of dates that you now have to juggle around, right? The reality is you might have to determine what is your spending on wants for that period of time.
I like that you made an exception for just treating yourself or treating a loved one, because I think one of the detriments of budgeting is when people believe it's so rigid and strict and they can't enjoy themselves and they loathe to make a budget. They hate it. So what I would say to you is to put it in your budget. If you know you're someone who likes to pamper yourself, allocate, like say you can do it this month, you go spa day, next month you can hold off on the budget, because your budget is for you and to help you get a better life now in the future. So you shouldn't be denying yourself every single thing and then saying, oh, 20 years down the future. Unfortunately, you plan for 20 years, but you may not see it. So enjoy while you can. The budget is there now.
I think that is so important. I mean, when you consider everyone, of course, is different, right? If you know that you go to your hairdresser, let's say every 6 weeks, then you should start to allocate your budget accordingly. So you know that you might have to deal with 1 month you don't have to put any money for the hairdresser, but the next month you do. If you know you have to go and get your nails done every month, then you know every month this is now, to me, a fixed expense that I am dealing with, right?
And you're hitting on, I believe, which is not only long-term goals where we saw about retirement and 20 years down the line, but you do have short-term goals.
Yeah.
Short-term goals. And even in planning, in going for your long-term goals, it can be short-term. Because what you said with having your fund. Say you want your emergency fund to be 3 to 6 months, your necessity. After you get that 3 to 6 months of your necessity, that money can still go into savings. It's just not for an emergency fund anymore. So you can then say, okay, I'm a diversify. You can put a little bit more in investment, or I may say, oh, I could get my little entertainment bill a little go up. But short-term goals to fit your long-term goals. Don't slave to your budget. Within the households, a lot. I've heard a statement that doesn't resonate with me quite well, and it's going to lead into the more advanced topics of financial management, independence, and freedom. I've heard a lot of people say, save money. Then I've heard them say, you save too much money. And then I've heard them say, you can dead and let go, and you can dead and go long, and it can still be there. And that's counterintuitive, because you want the money to be there for the future. But then it's almost like you're telling me, use all of it, because the future isn't determined. I think that's not what we want. And especially when we topic of financial and
when we start to get into that area, you start to think about things such as generational wealth, where you now have to start considering, when I die, what position do I want to leave my family in? So if I decide I'm going to take all of the money that I have been saving and I can blow it on a cruise because the doctor told me I only have a couple of days left to live, right? But you have not decided I'm leaving any money for funeral expenses. I'm not leaving any money for my children. I ain't leaving money for my grandkids, my partner, And now you have placed them in
you burden them with your debt.
Because now they're dealing with, they're going to be dealing with, right? Versus other person, and I would say wealthy persons especially, who they plan for the future generation. So they might decide, once my child is born, and aside this amount every month for 18 years. So that when that child reaches the age of adulthood, they can decide, this money that my parent has set aside for me is going to go towards education, or towards buying a new home or a vehicle. It might be something to start. There might be for a new business. That we have to get into. You have to start thinking about. You're living beyond. You're living beyond the today, right? And you got to think about your future generation.
Reminds me of a great quote by someone, Nietzsche. He said, man is not a goal, he is a bridge. Paraphrasing, he's basically adding on to the future. If you only see yourself and you have a kid, what are you doing? You're sending them right back to where you started instead of giving them a little haircut. So I think that's really attitude.
Or you might be starting them further back than you.
Because they got to deal with your funeral expenses too.
Yeah.
So that's the attitude. We need an individual going into the financial awareness. I hope that by reading and understanding and discussing, they would get an attitude of moving beyond. They would get comfortable with dealing with their finances. Even if you're uncomfortable, that tells you that something needs to change and you should work towards that. You also should surround yourself with people as much as possible who have a similar mindset of advancement and going through. A lot of people find it, intrusive to talk about finance. Talking about finances doesn't mean I ask you your salary. It goes into investment, budgeting. How's your budget going, bro? I have a little extra bit. I invested in a bond. Oh, what bonds you expect? That is a discussion. We need to be more open about our finances if we, in general, want to discuss our financial situation. If you're struggling and you can't get something to do, you usually ask for help. something as important as finances, it's bewildering to see people struggle and not seek to get any form of help.
I believe that one of the biggest barriers to financial freedom or that financial independence might be a lack of a support system. You know, you have to be willing to surround yourself with people who are sharing that similar key to success. You know, who are looking to go in that direction. If not, if you don't, you're gonna find yourself willing to make a move and you're going to invest, you're gonna buy life insurance where you don't know about that company that collapsed those many years ago. Are you saving all of your money? But you know, what about that car you always wanted to buy? You know, so sometimes you have those whispers in the ear that kind of pushes you back into a space of being financially dependent. A financially dependent being that somebody else is going to be determining, you know, are you going to have finances this month or not? You know?
So we would have introduced the concept, but we didn't define it. So financial independence, just for those, is the ability of your passive income. We can touch on that, of your passive income to allow for you to meet the necessities of your life and your lifestyle. And then the top on that, which we hope to discuss today also, is freedom, which is when your passive income allows you to not only maintain your current lifestyle, but go beyond. So those are what we would want to achieve, and that's what we would like everyone to achieve, because that freedom would then allow us to be free. You could be more expressive, you could live a more comfortable life. So Chevon, if you help me, passive income, active income, people think there's only income. Help us break down.
No problem. So I think one of the best ways to think of it is active income is income that you as the individual have to do something in order to receive. So if you have, let's say, a 9 to 5, you're going to work every day. And as you go to work, at the end of the month or the middle of the month or whenever, you know, you are paid for the work that you have done. So it's active. You have
what most people get their income
So most
from.
persons tend to have active income, all right? Passive income, on the other hand, is income that you don't necessarily have to be, I don't want to say active again, but you don't have to be participating in order to receive. Like I'll give some examples. Okay. So some examples would be, let's take for instance, you are a car salesman, or you open this car business, you're selling vehicles. I am the business owner. So I come to the company every day. I make sure it's running. I'm making sure that things are going as they ought to. I'm making sure that cars are being delivered. I'm making sure we have enough customers. I'm making sure the sales team is doing what they have to do. I'm making sure the marketing of the company is happening the way it should. And then I am paid. That is me having active income because I'm actively doing something, which is different now to if I have become a shareholder for that same company. I just use an example, right? Where I just, let's say, place some money into the company, and then I just step back, and every month or year or quarter of the year, you know, I'm getting income.
That's the beauty,
right? And that's where it becomes passive. But I want to emphasize that people believe that you just get up today and have passive income. Passive income for most persons have to begin with doing something actively first, and then over a period of time, you know, then you get to that point of passive income.
That passive income is important, because without the passive income, you can never achieve this financial independence or financial freedom. Because the point of it is, you want that whenever you decide, I've had enough of this job, manager isn't to my liking anymore, and I could survive the rest of my life. You leave the office respectfully, you send in your resignation, and you can continue life as normal indefinitely. So you need that money to be coming in from other sources. And another beautiful thing about financial independence is because when you ask, I don't know about you, but anytime I go and I don't have money in my pocket, I alter my lifestyle. So like I would go, if I have money and I going out shopping, I have in the ball. I know what I doing. I don't have a problem if it go over by a little $10, $20. But when you go hold on to the money so tight, you don't buy things that you want. Like I remember back in school, and then we go to the supermarket and I was just like, boy, I need to wait for this one check to come through. I buy a bunch of food stuff that I don't usually use, and then I turn out I don't use them, period, because I don't want that. It's not my lifestyle. So I end up spending more money.
Right.
So you need to get that building up of money, of wealth. It helps you not only for your future, but safety of mind. As you say, when those emergencies pop up, you're not scrambling. You have a safety.
Yeah, I think one of the things to consider. I remember I was reading this book, and it made this point, and the point has stuck with me since then. The author asked the question: if you stopped working today, how long can you survive on the amount of money that you have saved? So take into consideration what your current monthly expenses are, and let's say your current standard of living being maintained. So if your current monthly expenses is $1,000 every month, that's what you're spending, right? And you were to stop working now, based on the money that you have saved or invested, that you can now live your life on. How long can you live? And then in the book, some of the persons said, I can live a year. Other persons said, I can live a month. Some said, I can live 2 days. You know? So it brought them back to the point of when you start talking about having a financial goal and what you're moving towards, it should bring you a point of self-reflection. Where am I financially?
True.
You know? And then out of where am I financially, where do I want to get to? And that's where we start talking about having a financial goal, you know, comes into play. Where do I want to get to? Where do I want to get to in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? At 65, am I going to retire at 65? You know, what is my financial plan?
That what you were saying, how long you can live off of. In my readings, I saw the concept of a financial security number, which is basically the tallying of all your monthly expenses, the amount of, and putting that against how much money you have in savings or in assets, and saying that. And I think the goal of everyone should be to increase that number to be indefinite.
And that point that you just made about increasing that number to indefinite is the definition of financial freedom, whereby you are gaining this income consistently, right? To the point, if you decide you're going to stop your active income, you know you're still getting this money, and so you can still meet those current expenses.
I believe everyone would have understood the basic, budgets, the types of income, and the ultimate goals of independence and freedom. We'll just go through. I saw, just going through YouTube, I saw this couple. I don't know if they reached independence or freedom, but they had some stepping stones that I thought were very good in assessing your current financial ability, and it leans on what we were thinking. They said is your first stage in financial independence is probably going to be working out your net worth, and that is seeing how much money you have in assets versus your debt or liability. And they said most people will have a net worth of negative, meaning you owe more you earn already. And a lot of people don't even understand that stage or reach it because they never say, they think of themselves of having a net worth. They think of themselves paying back a loan and having a job. So I think by going through that step for yourself, you put it into perspective of where I am, and hopefully that will chart you to where you want to go. And the second step.
Yeah, so I was actually going to say that, you shared about persons might have debt that they have to deal with, right? And I think one of the things that affects persons a lot nowadays is that they live in their lives trying to cancel their debts. So they may determine that when I am paid this month, let's say, for example, that the salary, let's use the salary of $1,000, $100 is for my light bill, $100 is for my water bill, $100 is for my telephone bill, $500 is going to, let's say, loans and debt. That carries us up to $800, and then your last $200 you're just spending on let's say bus fare and lunch, and your salary is done.
That's ludicrous,
right? An example.
but I mean, it goes back to what we said earlier about the 50, the 30, and the
right. So if you transform then how your mindset is, where you might think of, now I have to be paying myself first, and paying myself first might just mean setting aside this money to savings or this money to investments or the like first, and then you now have this 80% or 70% that you are now going to be using to deal with your debt. But then some people will say, well, I still got the debt to pay. How can I now change from spending out $1,000 to, let's say, now spending out $700? It might mean that you have to maybe go to your lending agency, and you might have to do some adjustments to your debt payment. You might have to bring it down. You might do some refinancing. You may have to consolidate that.
A second form of active income if you can get it.
Correct.
So because the view of this is to make yourself aware of your situation, and then you have to decide for yourself what you're gonna do. You can continue living in debt. You can try to get out of debt. If you can try to get out of debt, how best? And I think that is where people will start to see a change in it. They don't understand it. And then the next stage that these people said on your path to financial independence is to get a net worth of zero, whereby your debts and your assets are basically equal. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't have debt. This just means that your assets, anything goes wrong, you laid off, you got another COVID pandemic, you liquidate your assets, and this pressing debt is now canceled because you have enough money to pay off that debt. So that means your itself should give you a boost of confidence knowing the debt collector can't come and leverage my house, my car. So that was the second stage that they would have hinted to. And from then on, it just goes up and up into having a net worth of positive just $1. Just knowing you got more money than your debts, and then increasing based on having a goal then. So you know you're in the positive. How much more in the positive you want to get? So how much more years you want to live off of? If you want 10K net worth, 50K net worth. And there's where now we can start to think about our passive, and you should think harder about, I don't really know investment. I got to the stage based on possibly saving money. How I can get it now to multiply? Because if it takes you 3 or 4 years to get this 50K, you don't want another 3 or 4 years to get another 50. You want to increase as fast. So you got to look at your investment. Have a talk with some brokers, see businesses. And
I think one of the important things of being financially aware is being able to say, I don't know. Is being able to recognize
saying, I don't know.
That I lack the information and I am looking for that information. And I'm looking for that in books. I'm looking for that in articles. I'm looking for that in videos. I'm even looking for that in these kind of podcasts. But you're deciding the only way that I am going to improve is by seeking out that financial.
Yeah. You would have started the journey not knowing. So that means at some point along your journey, you may end up not knowing. So what do? You get back to the drawing board and you see how best you advance in steps. Increasing your net worth now to possibly be 50% of whatever lifestyle you want to have. And retirement, you're planning for retirement. Everyone should plan to have as best a retirement as possible. And one of the simplest calculations was whatever you're earning currently, multiply that by 25, because after retirement, so you're 65, people live 20 to 25 years after retirement. Multiply that by 25, and that's the amount of money you want. You want at minimum to maintain the lifestyle that you would have had while you were working. Now, that may seem like nothing and change, but you're at home now. You don't gotta go to and from work. You would have paid off your loans and your mortgages. So let's say you were earning $40,000 a year and you're in debt. You was paying back about 10 in mortgages and loans. All of that now, you wouldn't have that when you're retired. So that $40,000 is much more to you because not much of it is going out. So although it may still seem like nothing's changed, your life is because you don't have this debt. And if you continue.
One of the things I would also say you have to consider is that inflation.
Yeah.
And and the life that we can afford to live in 2020 does not mean that you can afford to live it in 20. Just an example would be in the past, maybe 30, 40 years ago, we used to buy bread for $1. It was $1 bread. Now the same dollar bread sells for $3 or $4, right? So the reality is that over a period of time, you're going to have these adjustments. And so even though I understand the point about, multiply by 25 years, just so you can have a gauge,
a basic,
right? You also have to factor into that
possible
over a 25-year period, you're gonna have changes too. So you might in those 25 years, you might buy the same groceries, you might buy the same medication, but the value of, or the cost associated with both.
I guess that then is where the investments come in, because if you invest, you should be investing getting a profit. Profit should account for a roughly 3 to 4% inflation. So you should help hopefully cancel that out. A lot of people, I know people is be like, I'm too young to think of retirement. That's a bit foolish, because you want old and live to see retirement, I would assume, because these are the stages of life. As a kid, I want money. I want to get to be an adult. As an adult, I don't want bills. I want to retire. Okay, you retired. You still have bills, but you don't have that active money anymore. So you're worse off. People find themselves worse off in retirement than they were when they were actively working. And that's the stage you don't want to ever end up in. Because you 70, 65, the workforce probably should be younger, vibrant, fast-paced. You're really competing with those there. So the chances of you getting another job that probably pays the same to how you lifestyle is slim. So you need to plan for this retirement. But people...
But I will also say, some people, for some persons, they look to plan to 65. There are other persons who might plan more for medium term, so that they might decide, my aim is to do these particular things so that when I turn 40, I am at passive income only. And then I'm going to use that passive income. I might decide I'm going to save it, which will carry me up to the 60, right? But it comes back to the point of sitting down and deciding, these are what my goals are going to be. This is what I want to achieve. This is the reality. It's like buying a home. When you buy in a home, you have to evaluate your personality. So if my personality is one where I want to be embracing people, having guests over, having barbecues, it makes no sense I'm going to look for a townhouse, right? In the same sense, if you know that when you turn 65, you want to be cruising, or you want to be traveling more, or you want to be investing in your grandkids, as an example, then you have to start to factor that in from today.
Plan for that lifestyle. As you would have been planning for the little spa days, the girlfriend or boyfriend birthday or event. You got to plan for this in retirement as well. And I feel your retirement you should plan that your retirement is close to your middle years in terms of it should be the best, because you're not working for anyone anymore. Also, you have a home, you have a family, and you have the freedom to do all of the things you want. Go and start that garden. Go and do a chef class that you always wanted to. That's what we get into. I wholeheartedly believe that the more you go into financial management, with the exception of possibly investment, you'll start to see a lot of things repeating. Budget, track your spending, have goals, reevaluate, budget, track your spending, have goals. It just brings refinement and refinement. And the more you stick at it, the better you'll get. Because I don't believe everyone can achieve the level of freedom where after they can upgrade their lifestyle base. But through seeking independence, you will, without a doubt, get better money management skills. It's unheard of. One of the exercises that I saw is that they compared two families, this male and female. They graduated their university of choice, and they earned the same amount of money throughout their entire life. However, before university, all two of them got similar jobs as well to help pay off debt. But based on having some simple financial management with the couple, they delayed in getting into certain things. They delayed buying a brand new car and bought a used car because their two incomes could better handle the emergencies of one car. Delayed buying a house. Then they delayed buying a house by buying one that they could also rent some of it to help pay back for the mortgage. These are smart moves that you see. Take out life insurance on your baby as it born. Those policies are dirt cheap because the older you are, the more expensive they get. So by getting more aware, by surrounding yourself with various peers, I believe a level of financial security can be achieved for anyone.
It has to come back to person wanting that. People share a lot that I want to save more. or I want to manage my finances more. But if you do not really understand, if you have not defined your why, and are you not moving towards that why, you will always have difficulty. You will
It's
always
like
have difficulty.
someone without the goal. Like a lot of people, I want to retire, I want the money and stuff, but they don't want to put in that hard work. And then
or
the lottery.
Or have that delayed gratification.
Right. And then they win the lottery. And they believe it's swell. Travel all over, buy useless property because they see people with money buying property. And just all of that instant wealth that they just got wasted. And now they're back to square one. Not even square one, because all the property that they bought would have had some fees occurring. So you're negative now. You're negative being so big.
Right.
So it is actually better to just stick to the path, the tried and true of learning along the way, continually getting your short-term goals, working to your long goals. If you so happen to risk a bet, go Vegas, win the lottery, you will have a mindset of how to better manage that day. You don't ever want to go to a situation where you don't understand what you're accomplishing.
And that comes back to you having that self-discipline. If you can manage and control a little, then you can manage control.
If that, boy, I don't think there's anything else to say. Understand your situation. Get a budget. Stick to the budget. Work. The budget isn't going to be life changing in 1 month, in 2 months, in 3 months. It's going to take time. But the more you stick with it, the more you'll see how to use it better. It's a tool. And once you get that budget down, then I believe you could get to the grander scheme, the independence number, freedom. But if you don't start small, you're never going to achieve. So I would advise everyone out there, to seek to educate yourself on financial awareness, be more financially literate. And not only yourself, but speak to others and help them as well. Because it'll help if you have a group mentality doing. Teach your kids. If you learn it at 50, make sure they learn it before they hit 20. Get them in a better position.
Agree.
Sure.
And I would definitely say, even as we're wrapping up, that your financial independence, your financial freedom has to start with you having the mindset that that's what you want. Once you have that mindset, you are now on the track and you're ready to run your race, right? Then find supportive persons around you who are going to, like we shared earlier, be willing to help you towards your success, right? Have the discipline, pay yourself first, live on less than you earn, determine your whys, pay your debts on time. Those things come, but you got to start with your money.
100% agree with you, Chevon. Thank you for being on this podcast and helping to educate.
Thanks for having me, man.
And hopefully many other people listening to this podcast. Once again, thank you, Chevon. And this has been another episode of the Nuh Dry Talk podcast.